The old man was trembling when he slid into the booth across from me, and my first thought was that he was having some kind of episode. He wasn't. He was looking at my face. And what he said next would be the first kind thing I heard on the worst day of my life. But I have to tell you what that day actually looked like first, because a diner on Fleur Drive at 10:47 on a Tuesday night doesn't happen by accident. It's the last stop on a road you didn't know you were traveling. At 9:15 that morning, I was called into a conference room on the 4th floor of Callaway Systems, where I had spent 14 years building something I was genuinely proud of. I had walked in as an office coordinator at 29. I had become senior operations manager through work that was quiet and steady and very, very real. I had trained people who now outranked me. I had covered holidays no one else would touch. I had been the person you called when things went sideways at 2 a.m., and I had always answered. The man across the table was named Derek Foss. He was 31 years old and had been brought in by the parent company 6 months ago. He told me the restructuring was complete. He told me my position had been eliminated. He told me it was not performance-based. He handed me a folder with my name on it. 8 weeks of severance. 14 years. HR walked me to my car. They did not shake my hand. I sat in the parking lot for almost an hour. I didn't cry. I have never been someone who cries in parking lots, but I felt the particular hollowness of a person whose professional identity has just been handed back to her in a cardboard box. I had a photo of my daughter Margot on my desk, a coffee mug she made me at camp when she was 8, a small ceramic owl that had sat beside my keyboard for a decade. They were all in the box. I was holding the box. I had nowhere to put it. I drove home. My husband Callum's truck was in the driveway. He was never home at that hour. I found out why at 2:48 p.m. Nora, I think we need to talk. That careful voice. The voice of someone who has been rehearsing. I've been speaking with an attorney. I've been doing this for a while. The timing with everything happening, I think it actually makes sense to move forward now. The timing. He had known about the layoff before I did. His sister worked at Callaway. He'd had weeks to prepare. He told me he had already spoken to Margot. He told me he had already moved most of her things to his mother's place while I was working late the week before. He told me she was there right now, waiting for him. Nora, you gave everything to that job. And you never once asked me what I needed. He said it the way you say a thing that you believe is both true and devastating. I don't want to spend the rest of my life waiting for someone who has nothing left to give. He carried his bag downstairs. He drove away. I stood in the driveway watching his taillights disappear down the street where we'd lived for 11 years, where I knew the name of every neighbor's dog, where my daughter had learned to ride a bike on the sidewalk out front. Nothing left to give. I went back inside. Margot's room was gutted. Her books, her stuffed rabbit she'd had since she was 2, her reading lamp, all gone, moved while I was at my desk earning the income that had apparently kept him from leaving sooner. At 9:30 I got in my car. I couldn't stay in the house. I had friends, but they were couples friends, dinner party friends, and I suddenly couldn't tell which relationships were mine and which had been borrowed arrangements from a life that no longer existed. I drove aimlessly. South, east, nowhere in particular. The kind of driving women do when they can't go home and can't go anywhere else. I saw the diner. 24 hours, neon in the window, the specific warmth of a place that doesn't care what you look like when you walk in. I parked. I went in. I ordered coffee black. The waitress, whose name tag said Deline, looked at me the way some women look at other women in certain moments. Not with pity, with recognition. She poured my coffee and set it down and said, "Take all the time you need, honey." She didn't ask if I was okay. She knew I wasn't. I sat by the window. I watched the rain. At 10:47, the door opened. He was tall, silver-haired, maybe 70-something, wearing a brown corduroy jacket and the expression of a man who's been quietly carrying something heavy for a very long time. He ordered cherry pie and coffee at the counter, the way you order when the staff already knows what you want. And then he turned to find a seat, and he saw me. He stopped mid-step. He stood there, staring at my face, and the color drained out of him so completely that the waitress noticed. "Mr. Orley, you okay?" He didn't answer her. He walked to my booth and sat down across from me, without asking permission. He was shaking. I know how this looks, he said, before I could say anything. He pulled out his wallet. From inside it he removed a photograph, laminated, the lamination worn and replaced over the years, you could tell. He set it on the table between us and slid it toward me. This is my daughter. This was taken 3 weeks before she disappeared. I looked at the photograph. A young woman, maybe 20, standing in front of a brick building in a university sweatshirt. Dark hair, a strong jaw, wide-set eyes, the beginning of a smile that hadn't quite decided whether it was going to happen. She was looking at the camera like she had no idea that in 3 weeks she would drive away from campus and vanish from the earth entirely. I looked at that face, and I understood why the old man was shaking. Because that face, that 20-year-old face from 35 years ago, was mine. Not a resemblance. A duplicate. Age her forward 3 decades. Add the lines I have at the corners of my eyes, the gray I've been ignoring at my temples. Put her in my clothes, and you would have me. Nora Callahan, 47 years old, sitting in a diner on the worst night of her life. His name was Thaddeus Orley. His daughter, Evelyn, had been a junior at Iowa State University in October of 1990. She had left campus on a Friday afternoon to drive home for the weekend. Her car was found at a rest stop on I-35 the next morning. Doors unlocked, keys in the ignition, her backpack on the passenger seat, her wallet still inside it, $47 in cash untouched. She had never been found. He told me he had spent 35 years and over $500,000 looking. Private investigators, DNA registries, cold case television appearances at 3 a.m., hundreds of leads. None of them had ever produced the right face. Until tonight, he said. I want to hire you. Not because you're her. I know you're not her. But you are what she would look like if she were alive right now. And I have been trying to generate that face for 35 years, and none of the forensic artists, none of the aging software, none of my own desperate imagination has ever produced what I'm looking at across this table. He paused. Whatever you make at your job, I'll double it. Housing, transportation, whatever you need. Just let me use your face to find my daughter. I looked at Thaddeus Orley. 74 years old. Widowed. The kind of wealthy that doesn't matter to him anymore because money didn't find her. And I did the math that people in my position do when they have 8 weeks of severance, a mortgage, a custody arrangement not yet determined, and a self-worth that had been publicly revised downward that same morning. I don't have a job anymore, I said. I know. I assumed. Look at your face, Nora. Whatever happened to you today happened. He didn't say it unkindly. I'm not offering this out of pity. I'm offering it because you are the most valuable thing I've encountered in 35 years of searching. You are worth exactly what I'm offering you. I sat with that. Whatever brought you to this diner tonight, he said, brought you to the right booth. I took the job. I moved into his guest cottage the following week. I brought 2 suitcases, my laptop, and the cardboard box from my desk at Callaway, the mug, the owl, the photo of Margot. Everything else I left behind. Margot visits every other weekend. The first time she came to the farm, she walked straight past me to the main house, knocked on Thaddeus's door, and said within 30 seconds of meeting him, "My mom told me you lost your daughter. I'm really sorry. My mom got a little lost too. But she's less lost now." Thaddeus looked at my 10-year-old like she'd handed him something he hadn't known he was still waiting for. That was 8 months ago. It's June of 2026 now. Evelyn Orley is still missing. She may never be found. But the foundation we built in her name has helped identify remains for 3 families and reunited 4 missing persons with the people who never stopped looking. 7 families who had no answers now have some. I am not worthless. I never was. The people closest to us are sometimes the least equipped to see us clearly, not out of malice, but because familiarity flattens people. Sometimes it takes a stranger walking into a diner on a Tuesday night, someone looking for his own lost person, to sit down across from you and say, "I see you. You are worth something. You are worth exactly this." Sometimes you're not the answer they were looking for. Sometimes you're the partner in the search. And sometimes that's even better.